Welcome to the Scottish Rite Journal podcast, an audio presentation of the Scottish Rite Journal, brought to you by the Supreme Council of the Scottish Rite, Southern Jurisdiction, Mother Supreme Council of the World. This week's article is Temperance, the Misunderstood Cardinal Virtue by Brother Mark Dreisenstock, 33rd degree, and comes from the March-April 2024 issue of the Scottish Rite Journal. Of the Masonic cardinal virtues of fortitude, justice, prudence, and temperance, the last of these, temperance, is the most misunderstood, for the popular understanding of the word has changed since becoming a part of Masonic parlance. This became especially true with the rise of the early 20th century temperance movement, which sought not merely to temper or moderate the use of alcoholic beverages, but rather to prohibit their use entirely. This successful movement led to the ratification of the 18th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, which prohibited the manufacture, sale, or transportation of intoxicating liquors. The use of the term temperance and the opprobrium many associated with it can be witnessed in journalist H. L. Mencken decrying the recrudescence of the temperance agitation and its culmination in prohibition. In the Masonic world, this question was taken up in the August 1917 issue of this magazine, then titled The New Age, in an article by W. A. Gardner entitled Masonry and the Temperance Question. The author noted, temperance is primarily the work of the home and not the work of the state, noting that the true Mason cannot stand for temperance and prohibition. Gardner also states that amending the U.S. Constitution to outlaw liquor would be foisting sectarian moral prescriptions upon the nation and thus, in fact, be an instance of intemperance. Yet the 18th Amendment, prohibition, would soon be ratified in 1919, only to be repealed in 1933 with Congress's passage of the 21st Amendment. This notion of temperance as referring largely to alcohol consumption would continue in the New Age well past the end of the Prohibition era. Writing in his article, Temperance, in the May 1953 issue, author Gary L. Bain, 33rd degree, rejects the notion of temperance as being total abstinence from alcoholic beverages. There are those who contend that temperance, means complete abstinence of and applies only to alcoholic beverages. It is believed that the vast majority of honest and intelligent people will agree that overindulgence, misuse, and abuse of intoxicants combine to create a serious problem, and evil if you prefer, important enough to warrant the apprehension and sincere consideration by all good citizens. But it is certainly erroneous to arbitrarily state that alcohol is the chief evil confronting our state and nation today. An April 1954 response to illustrious Bain's article, quoted above, R. E. Kleinschmidt, 32nd degree, What Temperance Means, continues to discuss temperance in terms of alcohol usage, as does a November 1952 New Age article, How Shall We Teach Temperance? This latter one was a reprint from the Alabama School Journal and penned by James P. Floyd, Supervisor, Temperance Education, State Department of Education. Happily, around the same time, we also see the beginning of a shift in the Masonic usage of the word temperance away from the context of alcohol and more towards the realm of personal virtue. The August 1952 issue of The New Age, which offers the article Temperance, by N. M. Dillinger, 32nd degree, explains, temperance as a virtue dwells in the heart. It consists in a rigid subjection of every inward feeling and power to the rule of right reason. He who would be thoroughly temperate must master himself. Yet, temperance is more than simply self-mastery, important as this is. A deeper understanding is offered in the 28th Scottish Rite degree, Knight Commander of the Temple, in which we see a concrete instance of the virtue of temperance exemplified as it plays out in the world of medieval chivalry. Here we meet the figure of Constance, who seeks to become a knight, indeed, Knight Commander of the Temple. To do so, he must await a vigil. During the long night, Constance faces many temptations. We read in Dr. Rex R. Hutchins' A Bridge to Light. First, he receives a missive from his betrothed that he should join her that night for certain festivities, lest he lose her to an old rival for her romance who has returned to town. Constance refuses to renege on his vigil, saying he will do her bidding in all that does not affect his honor. Constance is then tested by news that his castle and possessions are under attack. He again does not abandon his vigil, withstanding the temptation of the worldly attraction of personal wealth. Finally, a monk comes who praises Constance's rejections of the temptations of the passion of love and the riches of the world, offering the aspiring knight the opportunity to become a monk and thereby secure his eternal salvation. This offer, too, the keeper of the vigil rejects, trusting in a God of love who will recognize his honor and service to others as a noble path of salvation. Constance does leave his vigil, however, when he learns that his city and its citizens are under attack from a cruel enemy. He then emerges a hero in this battle. Although Constance is later chided for forsaking his vigil, he is then praised for having given up his vigil in the cause of saving human lives and preventing the triumph of evil. Although Constance left his vigil, he did so unselfishly for the cause of justice and humanity, and will receive his desired title. The moral illustration from the 28th degree has much to teach us of temperance. Constance rejects the extremes of self-gratification and greed on the one hand, and the extreme of the ascetic life on the other. Finally, he rejects excessive devotion to his own personal quest of the vigil when confronted with the higher and greater demand that he save human lives. It is this wide avoidance of extremes, combined with concern for one's fellow man, and not the extreme of total abstinence, that is the essence of the cardinal virtue of temperance. Like and share this article, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you wish to comment, please leave one, and as a reminder, hit the notifications bell. Any accompanying photographs or citations for this article can be found in the corresponding print edition. The Scottish Rite Journal is published by the Supreme Council of the Scottish Rite, Southern Jurisdiction, Mother Supreme Council of the World. Mark Dreisenstock, 33rd degree, Managing Editor. I'm your host, Matt Bowers.